I heard Nathan Buckley, the Geelong senior assistant, interviewed on 3AW last night. He said something that caught my ear, and Leigh, I'd like to get your thoughts on this.
Look, there's not a lot that I would be able to do differently.
Okay.
I think it was just sliding doors and a bit of timing. I think, I think a few things worked against me, but in the end, a full process was run, and Ken was the guy that they thought, probably with his Gold Coast experience and country footy experience, and obviously his elite relationship building, that was exactly fit the needs of the Devils. So I'm not sure if there was, if you don't get the result, the natural response is to think that, there was something I could have done better. But all you can do is put your best foot forward. And I made every decision I needed to put myself in the right space. But alas, it's not to be. And I'm at a great club now and really enjoying this challenge.
I imagine he'll stay at Geelong now, and he's got that option. I thought it was disappointing for him that he had to hear it through the media, that he'd missed out, and I don't think that was brilliantly handled by the Tassie Devils. They've obviously, they think they've made the right decision, and Ken Hinkley is a fantastic appointment, but timing was against Nathan. I certainly think it helped Ken that the support people he voiced that he wanted to bring, including Nigel Lappin, who's currently doing a pretty good job at Geelong, but, Tasmania are hopeful of getting Nigel Lappin on board, if not next year, the year after. Maybe
things moved very quick late. My understanding was Nathan Buckley last weekend was still of the opinion that the final decision was 4 to 6 weeks away.
Yeah, well, that's what he was being told by Tasmania. That's what we were all being told. I thought it was going to be July, and I think that Nathan was well out of it by then, to be brutal. So I think maybe, given that they had been so strong on Nathan late last year when he went for that Melbourne job, he might have done things differently with Melbourne. Look, I think Nathan Buckley has every right to feel a little bit disappointed in the Devils' handling of this.
What, just the last-minute part of it? I mean, they've got every right to go wherever they want to go.
Completely.
As I said, I got a lot of faith in what Nathan Buckley's become as a person, as a football person, and as a potential coach. The same, but if you're you're talking about the Longmire, Buckley, Hinkley. I mean, they're all proven coaches. I mean, you wrote an article about Simon Goodwin. If you won a premiership, well, you're a proven coach. So they basically had a big group of people sort of to choose from. One of the things that hit me, though, I reckon Bucks has got every right. Like last night, he's been interviewed as a Geelong assistant coach, isn't he? And then and he's been asked about the Tasmanian stuff. I think it would be in Bucks' best interest just to say, no, talk about this. I'm here to talk about Geelong stuff tonight. Like he goes on the couch, for instance. Okay, well, they're going to talk about anything in the footy world, and therefore his Tasmanian connection might well sort of come up. But, I mean, to be honest, that is a situation where it just looks like that's the right coach for the right club at the right time. The Tasmanian situation, Ken Hinkley. You know, there's one little thing, and we are what we are. Ken Hinkley, maybe because of his media stuff, has proved to be more effervescent than Bucks. And in terms of being like the salesman, effervescency, but Ken Hinkley sort of has shown us that, probably in his media work this year, that you didn't necessarily were aware of as much on the coaching portfolio at Port.
Yeah, the unifier. I think Geelong would have put Nathan Buckley up knowing, and Nathan would have known he would have been asked that, and I just think he probably wanted to get it out of the way. But I think Ken's the right choice, but I think that Tasmania could have been more honest earlier with Nathan Buckley.
Well, so you're, but what do you think? What are you thinking? I mean, okay, what Bucks was thinking about where he was in the race, in fact, wasn't accurate. That's what you're
correct
alluding to.
Yep.
Yeah.
While
we're still on the coaching, it's always interesting to me that you've got. I mean, when you got Longmire, Hinkley, Buckley, Simpson, Goodwin, Simon Goodwin as well. I mean, 5 coaches who are sort of all proven. I think if you get your team to your top 4, you're proven that you can do okay if you've got the personnel right. But there's the fulfilled and unfulfilled. If you've not won a premiership as a coach, you are unfulfilled, and there'll be something burning with. Well, that's Ken Hinkley and that's Nathan Buckley. Doesn't apply to Longmire, Simpson, and Goodwin. I mean, they might want to coach again, and they might decide Someone asked me the other day, simple question, do you wish you'd coached again? Like after, And when I think of coaching, all I can think of is the stress and the anxiety and it being in the buck stops position where you and everyone around you thinks you're responsible for the team performance. And I've coached maybe 450 games in my 20-odd years. Maybe 50 you got a buzz out of, right? A lot that you won was just a sense of relief. Of course, we won. Every now and again, a home and away game. Obviously, you could win a close and that might be big. But you've probably got about 300 of them where you've either just been relieved or really miserable because we've just lost. That's all I think of coaching. So once you've fulfilled as a senior coach, you're going to get past that. You're going to get past what senior coaching actually entails if you really want to chuck yourself into doing it again. Whereas the ones who haven't won a premiership, they're unfulfilled. They will want to have a crack at going all the way.
So, very quickly, because Craig Cameron is about to join us, are you suggesting the likes of John Longmire and Adam Simpson and Simon Goodwin wouldn't be as hungry as the coaches that haven't...
To coach again, yeah. But, I mean, you shouldn't talk to other people, I guess. I'm generalising there, obviously. But I think there is an element, if you've got to be talked into doing it again.
But they would say you're just as desperate to get that feeling back again. My point about Goodwin is he's never mentioned. I know Essendon approached him and he said no this year, but it's just funny that all those other blokes are mentioned and Simon Goodwin isn't. Now, did Melbourne damage his brand? Did the issues that happened, all the political off-field stuff in those last few years, player issues, board issues? He left Melbourne in good shape. And he was their first premiership coach in nearly 6 decades, and yet they sacked him before the end of the season, which I thought was the height of disrespect. And they did it because they thought Carlton were going to sack Michael Voss, so they needed to get a jump. I just didn't like that, and I think the fact that he's gone back, he's done the opposite of Ken Hinkley. He's gone to work under another good system and help them. Interesting to see where it ends up for him.
I know there's a lot of games to go, Beaver, but I can't wait till next Thursday night, to be honest, because Mullins has got hold of Wanganeen Malira, and last night he got hold of Pickett, but they're burst runners. They got speed when they go, but Nick Dacos, he just runs and runs. He runs quick when he has to, enormous acceleration. It's a bit like the qualifying rounds that Mullins had. Now he goes up against the champ, and I don't reckon there's ever been a midfielder harder to tag because of his physical attributes than Nick Dacos.
Chris Judd?
Maybe Chris Judd. I mean, because you're trying to find him, aren't you? Yeah. I'm talking about the physical athleticism that it's so hard to stay within arm's reach of them. Like last night, on Thursday night, in the first half, the Crows were a little bit in front. Nick had 7 kicks, 13 handballs. Like, you've got to make him handball. Because the second half, he had 10 kicks, 9 handballs. So every time he sort of kicks the ball, he's able to accelerate into space. He gets the 1-2s. But I think it's fascinating. Mullen looks like the guy most likely to be the best nullifier of all the players in the competition, and the guy who's the hardest to nullify, he comes up against Thursday night.
The biggest one-on-one clash of the season, potentially, Caro. O'Sheen Mullen against the speed and endurance king that is Nick Dacos.
And Collingwood versus Geelong. Both teams sort of written off for the top 6 on several occasions. Geelong, if they can beat Collingwood, the fixture opens up for them. Obviously, their last 3 games are with the bottom 3 sides at the moment. Collingwood, what they've achieved with the issues they've got and their age, and I know that Nick Dacos is the best player in the competition by how much, but he's still. Apologies to Marcus Bontempelli, but I think Nick Dacos shades him at the moment. It's just extraordinary what Craig McRae's done. I have to say that, that coaching group, that footy program should be very proud. They just haven't they haven't lost a game for, what is it now?
6 in a row they've won. Yep.
Extraordinary. So, massive game, massive implications for the finals, and it's not like either of them are sort of going to be also rounds if they actually make September and get through wildcard, if that's where Collingwood is, and Geelong, they're back in a preliminary final if they can keep playing like this. I mean, obviously losing Max Holmes is an issue, but as you say, they bring in another forward who's just extraordinary. I'm sorry, they're both very, very good football clubs. Adelaide had a terrible night. I mean, we sung their praises last week, Bruce. They needed to back up at the Adelaide Oval. They've lost to Collingwood again. Their supporters had a poor night, as we know. Melbourne, a little bit more bit more generous towards the Melbourne Football Club. They hadn't lost a game at the MCG until last night.
Gee, it was a disappointing crowd last night, not even getting to 50,000 for such a big game.
Poor night. Can we have a listen to Chris Scott's former apprentice, Stephen King, and what he had to say after the game?
I think it was 101 points we gave them from turnover. So, yeah, played it hard to get any flow in the game when hand them that much ascendancy and roll out the red carpet the other way. In a game of footy, the style of game we want to play, I know there's risks associated with that, but a few of them tonight looked, I'm not sure if it was Geelong's pressure at times, but some of our decisions and execution just was pretty poor from a fundamental perspective.
He sounded really disappointed, Stephen King, and, you talk about, obviously, He's been in that Geelong system. They've picked up so much of the Geelong system at Melbourne, but there are things obviously you change and you make a few changes. But I think that to say we've rolled out the red carpet, that's a coach who's pretty shattered, isn't it?
Well, the point is, the turnovers come from your errors. The opposition pressure to create the turnovers. But when it's that massive number of scores, not only did they actually turn the ball over, they're Melbourne just in bad spots for Melbourne, that Geelong were good enough to go forward and actually score from them. So there's a sort of two-way street of that, but it's always very disappointing when your own turnovers tend to be the reason we let the opposition in so often.
Well, I had a couple. One I wanted to get to last week, and it was sort of added to last night with a crowd of under 50,000 at the MCG. The previous Thursday night, Geelong and St Kilda at GMHBA Stadium drew only 23,737. Now, the capacity now at the ongoing redeveloped stadium is 40,000. The biggest crowd they've had since the opening of the Joel Selwood stand was against the Saints as well, ironically, round 1 2024, 39,352. The Cats haven't been able to fill it since. They've had only two crowds of over 35,000 in 26 games since. That was a Friday night against the Lions, just over 35. Also against the Swans this year in a Saturday twilight encounter. And this year they've had 8 games with 4 crowds of under 30,000, and their aggregate or average this year is 28,930. So they're not even three-quarter filling it. And we've heard for years, it has to be developed, it has to be made bigger. We need bigger capacity. And
why?
Picking those numbers apart. You can imagine if there's a lot of people come from sort of the western part of the state to come to Geelong for games, that they're less likely to come for night games, like your Thursday night or Friday night. I don't know whether there's any differentiation in the match times that get better crowds, Beaver, or not. But you think that might be one reason.
Yeah, there does always seem to be a reason, but over now a fair sample size, the numbers just aren't turning up. They're certainly not voting with their feet.